Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're taking out this 1963 Series 1 Jaguar E-Type. This has a 3.8 liter inline six, which is enormous, located under this hulking bonnet. These are actually the coolest hoods in the game. I love it when you have the entire front end of a car on that, and you got to make sure that these are calibrated correctly. I mean, you can't really do any damage, but you don't want to open this into a curb. These nice bumpers would not fare well if they hit anything, but it gives you so much access to this monster. Now, the later cars had a 4.2 liter, and those had a little more low-end torque. They were faster, but I think the 3.8 is the real peach of the puzzle. These things are fantastic. Look at these exhaust pipes. I love how they separate them into two separate banks, essentially, kind of like you would see in an E46 M3 with an S54. And on the other side, the intake with the triple SU carbs. We'll get over there in a minute. Now, this one has been lovingly massaged and restored not so long ago. It's actually something we've driven on the channel before. We're gonna drive it again. This thing is really special. And of course, in typical winter fashion, we're going to drive topless Jags once it gets below 40 degrees, which I don't hate because Jags always freak me out. They sometimes get a little warm, and when it's cold, I don't worry so much about water temps in these cars. So it's actually a little more relaxing to drive these cars in colder temps. Just got to wear a hat. Anyway, inside, this is nicely upholstered in this beautiful red leather. I love the black dash. Everything in here is just perfect. And you know what? This automakers, take note. If you're an interior designer for a major car brand, I would like you to watch this video, or most of my classic car videos, and notice gauges, switches. This is satisfying stuff. We like to click things, we like to move things, and we also like accessibility with easy information, because when we're driving, we're motoring, we don't want to wonder, which menu was that icon in? Not trying to be too much of a nostalgic dude today, but this is really good. Now, they don't fit everybody. Even my head, I feel like, is probably up above this windscreen. Not that those A-pillars are providing much safety in the event of an accident or a rollover, but you know, when we get in, you'll notice that I've got to kind of be a bit bow-legged to get around that steering wheel. But on this side, we've got our air box. This is really cool because this like moves around a little bit. I'll show you what this looks like with the car running. You can see that kind of moving. And then down here, how cool is the Lucas bottle for the windscreen washers? I love this stuff. And you've got triple windscreen wipers. I don't know why I'm saying windscreen today. It feels very British. But anyway, down here, you get a real nice look at everything going on. Suspension-wise, engine-wise, these are not that bad to work on, but you may need to work on them a bit because they are British. It's just the reputation that they have. We've got center lock or knockoff wheels down here. So if you go motoring in your car, it's always a good idea to give it a thwack with the mallet just to make sure that everything is on tight, because you don't have 5 lugs to make sure that things don't go wrong. And in the rear, so you can see the disc brakes up front over here. In the rear, you'll see nothing. You'll see nothing there because actually they're inboard brakes. So kind of like an Iso-Grifo, or I guess the Iso-Grifo is more like this. But, you know, deep down in there, we'll get under the car later. I'll take a little video for you so you can see that. That's where the brakes are. They sit right up next to that differential, which I've done a couple turns in this parking lot, and my goodness, is this an aggressive diff. It feels like you're stopping the car when you take a tight corner. You got to stay in that throttle. It wants to launch you around. Under here, you've got a fuel tank, and on that side, you've got a spare tire, a little bit of room for your stuff. Fuel filler cap right there, and then very elegant little door handles. But the problem with these elegant little door handles is, like, you can't really fit a finger in there. So it's designed kind of for your fingertips to come up through here and hold like that. Of course, we're filming, so we'll get a semi-truck or some long cruise. That's just the nature of the beast. And then down here, you've even got the Lucas battery box. You got to fill those with water. It's a whole thing. You know, this is old school stuff, but you know, some of it's been modernized, because one of the best things about this car is, you'll notice it's got that 4-speed manual gearbox, but this one has been updated. So it's not a Moss box. To some, that is less desirable. They want the unsynchronized experience, but this has a synchronized first gear, and it's actually just so easy to row. I think E-Types they have this reputation. They're gorgeous, they're beautiful, they're fun to drive, they sound fantastic. However, there are good ones, there are bad ones. I've driven so many, and I honestly, you can't tell a book by its cover. I've driven E-Types that have $500,000 in restoration. They look perfect. They look pristine. They'd win all the trophies, but when you drive it, they're frustrating. There's something just a little off about them. They need to be tuned. They need to have that last 10% of drivability dialed in. Maybe the throttle spring is way too stiff, or there's just little things about these cars that add up to a good or bad driving experience. This one is quite nice. It probably needs a little bit of a tune-up on these carbs, but we'll get through the drive. We'll have a good time, but man, it's just a beauty. So let's close it up, get it on the road. I'll show you what this looks like to close, because you've got this latch right here, which again, I'm really happy. Sorry, it's this right there. I'm really happy that it's cold today, because this in the summer, after you've been driving, look where this is located. It's right up on that engine block. So this gets ultra hot. So if you are in a position where you're like, oh, I'm going to open the hood, after a little drive, you'll burn your little fingies off on that thing. Okay, so here's the deal. You've got to close this, you've got to push this in and turn it. But first we've got to make sure that this is down. So let's see, get that nice and far, and then there it is. It gets its little grasp. Now that's the thing, on a brand new, like freshly restored car, sometimes those rubber seals are really stiff, and there's very little tolerance between that and the hood. So sometimes you need like a second person to grasp and push down. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to push too hard on that, because you don't want to start doing damage to anything. But anyway, there we go. We're in. We're closed up. Oh man. What I love about this hood too is that you've got these vents to unleash some of the heat on the exhaust side and the intake side. But what's fun is, just like when you're in, say, a Gallardo or a Huracan, you look in the rear mirror and you see the heat coming off of those. You see that on the front of this car as well. Put a plate on here, close you up. Very nice. Okay, I think we're in business. Oh, and just in case you were wondering, to open that, there's a little handle back here. See that right there? You just pull that, and on freshly restored cars, you got to be careful, because sometimes when you pull that, it flies up like it's an air brake on a McLaren, because the springs are too stiff or they're too new. This one actually functions really nicely. So, oh, you know what I did? I'm gonna show you what that looks like, because I forgot my earmuffs, and it's not because it's cold. It's because we're gonna have some wind noise today. And if you're new to the channel, I use binaural audio, which means that right side, left side, the microphones are in my ears. So in order to reduce wind noise, we put on the earmuffs, and that way you can actually hear what's going on and not simply the air rushing past my head, because that's no fun. Anyway, inside, here we are. This is what I'm talking about, because we've got our tight little pedal box down here. Actually, not that tight. It's kind of fine. But if you notice, like, my legs right there, and I'm not a big dude, you know, I've been going to the gym, but like I don't have huge thighs, so I do have to kind of drive it with my legs spread. So if you're a man spreader, this will be very comfortable for you. To turn the car on, and I'll throw the choke up to the hot position. We're in neutral. There's our starter button right here, and we'll start knocking this guy down. Look at that. Okay, so we got red lights. We got a red light for this choke. We got a red light for this handbrake, and that'll go off. But sometimes that gets a little wonky. It'll flicker on us just a little bit. I think it's a very sensitive switch. So have no fear. We do have that handbrake off. First gear in this car, it's not really an over and forward. It's just a forward. So sometimes it's honestly a little awkward, because it's really where third gear in most cars would be, in terms of your spatial orientation, but it's okay. There's so much car in front of me. It's just all bonnet. I feel like I'm sat over the rear wheels. Now, I've made a possible mistake in trusting the fuel gauge in a 1963 Series 1 Jag, but we'll see. I think we're going to get home. We'll be okay, maybe. If we're not, we're not. We'll get some fuel. But think we'll be just fine. See, there it is. Get that light there. There's the long cruise. We made it. All right, let's pop on the muffs. Got a thumbs up from the Tesla. It does so well over imperfect surfaces, which I guess makes sense since it was a British car from the 1960s. I can't imagine the roads were immaculate. So maybe it's just a sign of where it was built. That's the thing about classic cars. It's like they require attention, they require understanding, and they require some knowledge to even whether or not you're working on the car, to be able to communicate to your mechanic what's going on. Because if you have a good understanding of like, hey, this is like this is like that, can you help me adjust it? At least then they have a good baseline of what you're experiencing. They'll drive the car as well too, but if you're somebody who really gets it, it's always appreciated. Oh, I love the steering in these cars. These are just so good. Jaguar, man, what happened? And I'm not talking about their marketing and, oh, what are they doing? They made a pink car. I don't care. This is a car, this is a brand that had racing pedigree, that created the most beautiful things, not just cars, like the most beautiful shapes in the world. They had personalities. They had prestige, and like that's been gone for a while. And the reason the brand still exists today at all is because of that pedigree and prestige. So here's to hoping Jag finds its way with the correct investors someday. Oh, of course it's cold. This clutch catch is really high, so it's kind of catching me off guard a little bit. just joyful motoring, man. I'm just having a good time. I know I'm not talking that much. I mean, we know what the car is, but you gotta just enjoy it. Just gotta enjoy the drive, even if we do need to turn some screws on those triple SUs. I've got the excuse of traffic to not be going hard in this car around these corners, but I gotta say, like, it's intimidating when you watch the vintage racing at Goodwood, for example, and you see these guys backing these into corners. Every corner is just sideways, and the nerve, the skill, and the confidence in your driving to be able to do that in these cars. What an amazing thing. What, am I the only E-Type out here today? So far so good. We didn't run out of fuel. I am gonna go bring this back to Bond Group and maybe see if we can adjust these carburetors a little bit, getting her running a little more tip-top. But this is a phenomenal example. Like this, if I bought an E-Type, this is the one I want because it's got the 3.8. I love the 3.8, and it's got this upgraded, in my opinion, upgraded 4-speed manual. I think this is perfect. It's kind of like when sometimes you'll see XKE 120s. They'll have like Tremix in them, and I think that's fantastic. Will be nice and gentle for these fellas. And they're not coming for us, which is always a pleasure when we're driving a classic car. But yeah, man, this is the motoring. This is the stuff. And it's amazing. E-Types are such bargains right now on the classic car market because you can get like heavily like redone, restored, rebuilt engines, all this stuff. People will have spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars on these cars. Oh, I'll take this off. People will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these cars, and good Lord, you can get a lot of car for the money when it comes to these things. It's just nuts. So highly recommend. Also, again, I mean, this one never really gave me trouble in the past in the warm weather anyway, but very cool literally to drive these in cold weather because I have all my Jag preconceived notions, whether correct or not, are kind of thwarted when the air is cold enough to keep them cool when they're idling. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. We're going into the winter months, and of course that means we're still gonna, sorry, this is rattling a little bit. I'm sure we're gonna find a few more annoyingly beautiful cars to drive, even though it'll be like 10 degrees out. But such is car sales, such as auctions. When they come up, they got to be shot, they got to be driven. So we'll do that. I'll be cold, but maybe if I'm lucky, this is the only drop top and freezing temps I'll have to do for a while. So thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Go check out my other Jag videos if you're curious about 120s, 150s, other E-types, V12s, whatever there is, I've got it. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Ooh, this guy's fighting the cold too. We'd love to see it. He's got Nikes on too. Love it.